Good evening and welcome back for another episode of FPL Journey to 10K. This is now episode 40, and we are still the only podcast in the series that delves into the brain of the former one FPL player in the world. That is, of course, our co-host, Mr. Matt Corbridge. Matt, how has your week been?
Yeah, all good, all good. Mixed one from FPL point of view, but otherwise good. How are you, my friend?
Yeah, okay. I'm thinking of two game weeks ago, so coming out of game week 34 with 92 points. Usually, that's fantastic. What a game week. Red Arrow by a good
Yeah,
20,000, 30,000 places maybe. So what a crazy week that was.
yeah. I think I had slightly more points than you, but I think 92 would have been just enough for me to get a grey arrow. But you're a victim of your own success, and that's you being top 100k ranked manager,
Not anymore.
hard at the top.
Just out. Just out, which is a killer. But this week's not been too bad. I'm back on a red. It's a very small red, but four players to go.
Yeah.
So it's not horrendous. Whereas
Any
you've obviously played your wild card and coming. How's that looking for you?
Yeah, mixed. Yeah, on for red at the moment, which is never good when you've like wild card a fresh team. But yeah, I've still got one game to go. But obviously it's Chelsea against Spurs, so it could go. Well, you just want that to be a
4-4.
well, you don't want it to be a 1-1 with like some kind of like random player getting the goals, right? So you want it to
Yeah.
be a goal fest or like a 0-0 would be pretty good given the spread of players. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, did you
I
get
agree.
away? Because I was like obviously texting you. I think kind of middle of this
Yeah,
game
yeah.
week, and I was kind of saying like, for you, it's been like a real story of just like injuries since you wildcarded in game week 30. So I mean, have you got away with any with injuries this week?
And not so much injuries. So Eight Nori was a real painful one.
Yeah,
So he conceded. No, did he go off in the 50 odd minute? No, he conceded. He conceded and went off injured 5 minutes after they conceded. Injured. Not that I wish injury on him, but if he'd have just got injured 6 minutes earlier, that would have looked a little bit
yeah,
healthier. But yeah, to see how long he's out for, he's past his double now anyway. But he's got not a bad fixture in game week 37, so that's when I'm going to be playing a bench boost. He's not the worst option to have on my bench for that game week. He's at home to Palace. He seemed to play on the wing again at the weekend as well, which was interesting. So further up the pitch,
yeah,
but if he's injured for 37, I'll be honest, I'll take a hit and take him out. So it doesn't really matter to me all that much. But he got injured. Eze obviously missed this game week, but it looks as though he'll be back for United. So at the
yeah.
weekend, so that's not a problem. But I think everybody else seemed okay. They seemed to come through. Nice to see Haaland back in training and getting some minutes and getting a goal. Which you'll get, I believe, because Foden. You may as well go through your team, as because I think Foden's going to go um, onto your bench, and you'll get those 5 points off the bench.
Yep.
Yeah, but what about Edison? Edison's obviously an injury for you. Is he a concern? Something you have to do something with?
Um, I think it's that difficult situation where I think seems like he's back in training, and like the news is that it's not a major injury. But then there's like I think as of what's today? Today is Tuesday. Today's Wednesday, and today's Wednesday. It was kind of like I've seen mixed posts on socials. Some saying yeah he's fit and back. Others saying that Ortega is a great replacement, and they're happy to play him as well. So there's not enough. It'd be great. Well, it wouldn't be for FPL point of view. It'd be good if you just had the clarity he's back and he'll go back into the 11, or he's out. Ortega's in. If I had a news like that, I'd just bring Ortega straight in. I think as an Edison owner, you've just got to sit and wait, right? But yeah, this guy, a lot of people had it worse with ownership of Edison, but I've never had really a decent experience with him. It's like, yeah, he's almost like a cursed FPL player, right? So I think going into this, a lot of people on Wildcard knew they wanted to access City defense.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of screaming out a run of clean sheets like the next couple of games for them. He was just the nailed option, really, the one that you would think would play all the time. And keepers do have they're not going to pick up suspensions and injuries typically just because of the nature of the position. But yeah, like pretty pretty frustrating, but like classic Edison. And I mean, if I'm talking about my wild card team, I'll probably just go through like the structure in a sec, just to say why I went with the players. I mean, it's pretty similar to what we discussed last week, really, in terms of structure. But yeah, I went Edison. Like my one regret is probably picking Edison over Guardiola, because obviously he got 15 points, and I would have played him instead of Burns. That's a big point swing, and I don't think we discussed it on the pod, but yeah, I think we've said like Guardiola, like ourselves, we've said he's probably the pick of the defenders because he's playing in that left back, left roaming position. He does get forward a little bit. Now you can't predict goals. His expected goal involvement from those City defenders was the best. So, like that does seem to be a bit of a cock up. I mean, like it'd be great to have, rather than Edison having a Vicario and rather than Van der Ven having Guardiola, that points just this week in isolation, but moving forward, it probably looks a bit stronger, just given the weaker defenses. Keepers can still accrue and accumulate quite a lot of save points. But yeah, other than that, I think I'm quite happy with the wild card structure. I mean, it's very template, but I think it's a template for a reason. I mean, just go through I'll go through the team. Should I go through the team? Just say why I went there. And I think the only difference from the team that I shared on the pod, really, in terms of structure, I know there's a few things. Like obviously I've got Van der Ven there. I've had Van der Heck from Brighton, but yeah, generally looks kind of the same. So I've gone Fernandez from the off rather than having a placeholder of a Maddison or a Richarlison. Now, I would have been tempted by Richarlison if he had played a game before, but like even though he's declared fit, I think it was going to be a bit of a rotation risk. I think with Werner's injury, he's going to probably look good moving forward, but I didn't think he was going to start. So I thought, let's not book in a transfer. I want Fernandez in my team. Let's put him in. And I think I'm glad I did that, because when you're playing with wild cards, you can be a little bit too smart and book in transfers for the next 2-3 game weeks. And things happen, injuries happen, right? Obviously, Edison's happened in my team. For a lot of other people, they've had shares injured, like for Newcastle potentially, right? So yeah, like random stuff happens. So that was like the kind of main change. But like I thought, yeah, the team picked itself really. You pick, a combination of 3 City players, 3 Chelsea players, 3 Spurs, and 3 Newcastle, right? And then like have a smattering of United players, really. So I think like it kind of like picked itself really, and I kind of really wanted Gordon from an attacking point of view, because I rate the Newcastle attack more than the Newcastle defense. So I wanted to go Gordon in midfield rather than the double Newcastle defense that some people went. I knew Pedro Porro and Van der Ven aren't going to get massive amounts of points, but it was just you rolled the dice multiple times, right, with all these double game weeks. And I think obviously I wasn't expecting anything from them, but yeah, Van der Ven, I think his disallowed goal was quite crazy, right? Yeah, so that was the one that was Porro's shot, so it could have been a Porro assist and then Van der Ven goal, but like yeah, obviously there was like 2 quite deliberate Arsenal movements. Like I think it hit Tomiyasu, right, and then it bounced onto like Gabriel, and then it went to Van der Ven. So like, yeah, I don't claim to be an expert, but yeah,
was offside.
That was a bit of a
he purposely played the ball. Yeah.
No, exactly. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see if he still gets like some attacking threat kind of moving forward. But yeah, like the team, 46 points, which is pretty pretty poor overall. But I mean, yeah, I've still got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6 of my captains, or 7 players essentially to play, right? So that could easily be up to 70 or something like that, just through like appearance points alone. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, Petrovic, Van der Ven, Pedro Porro, wasn't really expecting anything from them. The same from Burn. So yeah, I was kind of like, it's kind of is what it is really with those. I mean, in terms of the mids, I mean, Foden didn't start, so Haaland's going to come on. So I'm really on 51 points rather than the 46 here. But
yeah,
like I think it's probably notable just to talk about Fernandez really. So like he was very unlucky. So he was on for 3 bonus. He got 2 bonus in that game from no attacking involvement whatsoever. But I think his expected goal involvement was like 1.5, right? So
Yeah.
he was unlucky not to
Mental.
get a return, but like he's on fire now. So I'm kind of really happy with him there. And I know you brought him as part of your big hit, and I won't
Yeah.
spoil like that story because I think that's quite interesting doing a -8. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm happy I've got him and looking forward to him the next couple of game weeks. I mean, Gordon and Isak for me were just no brainers with obviously the fixture they had in the weekend, and they obviously hammered um, Sheffield United. Yeah, Gordon keeps up his trend of just like returning all the time in home fixtures, and same goes for Isak. So, and I mean Jackson, he had chances. He had chances in the first game as well. So I think um, again, yeah, I'm kind of happy with him. So yeah, like the score is pretty low. Obviously, there's a few players that were highly owned. That yeah, particularly Stacker, but I'm comfortable with that. Like if I compare it like for like, I say, hey, my equivalent of Saka is I don't know
Gordon.
Gordon probably. Yeah, given that
Yeah.
Foden is, or could be Foden, but Foden kind of transfers out to Haaland. I mean, you just got to kind of like run. There's a risk that like good players like Saka are going to get some returns here and then. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think if Edison comes through and isn't injured, I'm kind of satisfied with my wild card team. Happy where I'll end up for the week. And yeah, the only like minor regret is Guardiola, just because he got that 15 pointer and probably structurally a City defender and then a Spurs keeper probably just feels a bit nicer. It probably's got greater potential for points, although Guardiola could be benched anytime for
Absolutely.
like a Ake or a Kanji, right? So
It's
that's the risk that
Diaz,
owners are. Yeah, exactly.
Stones. It's like it's
Yeah,
a
well, I think
lot
the
of
issue is
options.
actually when you're looking at it, Guardiola is actually the position he's playing really is Ake or Kanji could do it,
Yeah.
but in a very different way, really. So I think he probably does play the majority of games, but like it'll be frustrating if you, as an owner, in a double game week, he only plays one, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see. So, like, yeah, a kind of very mediocre score, but like it could have easily been higher if a few players kind of came off and there wasn't disallowed decisions. We'll see where it is at the end of the week. I expect it to be around like 70 points, which I think should be just enough for a green arrow. Not what you want
Yeah.
on a wild card. You want a
Yeah.
big green
Yeah.
arrow, but I'm cool with it. But I mean, in many ways, your team is more interesting. So, what was your -8? Who'd you bring
A
in?
-8. So I had 2 free transfers. So I did
Yep.
four moves. I don't know whether I've ever mentioned this on the pod, but I'm a Liverpool fan. I don't think I've ever brought that up.
No.
So the 2 people that I sold, Darwin Núñez and Mohamed Salah. Rang up Klopp. He told me that they were getting benched, and I thought I've had enough of them. So
Yeah.
I've watched Liverpool a lot in the recent couple of weeks, and they both seem off it. I needed money, so Salah was the sale. I needed to get Son in for the double. Salah was the move. We spoke about it last week. Um, so that was one. Salah down to Son. Salah got 1 point. Son's currently on 7 and a game to go. So I'm 6 points up on that transfer.
Yeah.
The second one was then Nunes to Isaac. I just
Yeah.
feel Isaac's on absolute fire. I'm going to want him
Yeah.
in 37. Nunes has started being dropped to the Liverpool bench. Gakpo was back. So again, I just like there's no security in Nunes starting. Nunes 1 point, Isaac 13. So I am then
Yeah.
12 points up on that transfer. So I'm 18 points up on before I've took a hit for those 2 free transfers. Um, the next 2 I've picked up. Gusto was injured, so I had him for double game week, and annoyingly, he missed the first game. I think he's not going to be involved in the second game either.
I
So I
think
just
James
needed
is
to
back
do
as well
some.
now, and James is back in training
Yeah,
as well. So like I think
yeah.
even if he's back, he'll probably be
His
rotating.
future's questionable.
Yeah.
So and I had Eze was out, so I was like, I need to make another transfer, otherwise I'm getting. the only bench option I've got is Gabriel, and I thought Spurs will score, so I may as well take a punt. Getting a player that's got a double game week, so it was Gusto to Pedro Porro. It was for a -4, that one. Pedro Porro is only on 1. Gabriel would have played instead, so Pedro Porro's point means nothing because I'd have got the point for Porro anyway. So I'm 4 down on that transfer presently, but I've got Pedro Porro for another fixture. And then the other one was Sarabia to Bruno Fernandes because I thought Fernandes is on absolute fire. Sarabia's getting benched as well. That's worth a -4 to me. Well, Sarabia got 0. He came off the bench and got booked. So he got 0. Fernandes got 4, so that was a break even. Long story short, I'm 14 points up on the transfers, even taking the -8 into account. And I've got Porro and Son to go.
Yeah, it's as good as you could get for a -8, and I think probably none of them was like a risky decision where you're at. And obviously, your weight then is the the points making sense in one game week, and they absolutely are. So I think it's a really, really good move that you made. But like, obviously, it'll come out even better once you factor in game week 37 because you'll be using your bench boost, and these other players you brought in have all got 2 game weeks rather than 1 in a lot of the cases. The guys you were getting out, right? So over the next, like between now and the end of the season, the net gains, I think for that -8 are probably going to be 30, 40 points, right? So yeah, really good.
Yeah.
Like obviously, I don't really like this typically, but this was a really good move.
Yeah, so I've ended up on 58, but like 50 net. Branthwaite pulled me in the clean sheet. I know you were edging me to play Gabriel over Branthwaite. I just couldn't do it. And in all fairness, Everton probably should have conceded, but luckily for my team, they didn't. So the Branthwaite clean sheet came in. 2 for Nori, 2 for Petrovic, game to go. Pedro Porro on 1, good game to go. I felt unlucky with Fernandes. I could have easily been Gordon. It was Fernandes or Gordon. And I thought, I've got Isaac in just in case Newcastle have an off day. I'll go with Fernandes. Hedge the risk. They had a very nice fixture. Who they were home to? Who were they playing? Can't remember. It was a nice fixture.
United with Burnley, wasn't it?
Somebody that Burnley. Somebody they should, because it was 1-1. Yeah, Burnley. So I thought he's got every chance. And as you said before, expected goal involvement of like 1.5. Saka. So I could have sold Saka instead of Salah, but Saka's a short of a start. Arsenal are on much better form, and Salah gave me more money. So I was always keeping Saka. He's the sort of player like in the reverse fixture when Arsenal and Tottenham played earlier in the season, he scored twice. So I thought, well, there's every chance that he can put some points on the board again, and he did. He got a goal and an assist. So happy with his return. Happy to have him for this game week as well, at home to Bournemouth, and then we'll see if his position remains in game week 37. That might be him out. But then Son with 7, good transfer in. Palmer captain, same as you. He's better at home than he is away, so I'm hoping he'll get a return. And then up front, Isaac, Solanke, and Haaland. But not bad. A small green for the time being, but with 4 to play on the captain. So yeah, effectively 5 to play. So hopefully that'll be a slightly better green arrow come the end of the game week. You mentioned injuries before. I have been slightly frustrated since my wildcard in game week 30. So I bought in Lascelles, 16 minutes into game week 30, season-ending injury. He'd have been playing in the double game week 37. That was my pre-plan.
Yeah.
Gusto missed game week 32, game week 34, and double game week 35. 8 Nori, game week 32. 6 minutes off a clean sheet, went off injured. Missed game week 33. Came back for part of this double game week, which is the reason I bought him in, and now he might be injured again. So there's a lot of the defense has frustrated me with injuries because it's meant to have then had to take a couple of -4s that otherwise I wouldn't have had to. But my team's in we'll see later on. I feel like my team's in a reasonable shape. I should get to 9 double game week plays for 37 without any hits. Touch wood, depends on injuries. But I feel better than I did last week about my team.
No, like after that -8, it was a big bold move, but it does look a lot better. And the injuries we'll talk about that probably when we end of season when we do like the review of like your time with the wild card and what forced you to do it. But I think obviously since you've been treading water since then, just because you've never been able to build on that. It's just been like replacing players around the edges, unfortunately. But that's how the cards fall. That's how the chips fall sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah,
But you have been unlucky with those injuries.
frustrating us. It's weird. You know, I know 110k and it's a worse rank, but I was sad 80k for about 5 game weeks, and it was like I'm just not going to move. So I
Yeah.
might have moved in the wrong direction, but it's nice to see some movement. Um, but yeah, so the rest of the rest of the season, there's not much of it left. So I thought we'll touch on kind of 3 week punts. You know, there's 3 game weeks left. Most people have now played their wild card, especially people that have played it in game week 35, like yourself. No
Yeah.
wild card left. Do you do you now look at the remaining 3 fixtures and think, right, who can I now take it? Keeping them long term no longer exists. Do you look at the fixtures and think, right, who can I now target based purely on the fixtures? Or do you still take a lot of element into who the good teams are, who the form is? So it's a long way of asking you, Matt. How do you play the last three game weeks of the season?
Yeah, that was a lot. That was kind of a long-winded question.
It was.
Yeah, I mean, probably close my eyes and hope for the best, really. But yeah, obviously, like 37 is big in it, so it's like target double get. Like I think probably I'm thinking of it in two phases, right? So like next 2 game weeks are all about 37, and I've got a bench boost, right? So it's like kind of optimizing like the 15 players who are going to double. Well, one of my players isn't, but making sure that's like a nice optimal kind of mix and keeping an eye on injuries and rotation risks and making sure I'm going hard. If you talk about like 3 game week punts, I think we can probably talk around. There are some players that are. You probably got some. We're probably going to talk about players, aren't we? A little that
We will.
little
We
yeah.
will.
I mean, there's
There's a slide.
some Man City players around the edges. There's some Brighton players around the edges that are kind of like not as obvious as some of the other players that may that people may have. But yeah, that's one phase. And then game week 38, if you've got a transfer or two going into that, view that as a different phase as well. And like a team like I'm like I'll ignore the double game week players because we'll assume everyone's loaded up on Spurs players. Sheffield United away, great. City players against West Ham, great. Chelsea against Bournemouth, great. Obviously, like Arsenal are the interesting team. If people aren't like kind of like fully wrapped on Arsenal, you probably want to have a bit of an idea of how can you get to at least one additional Arsenal player for Everton at home. A real prime game where you would think that they're going for the win to win the league.
Just to win the league.
Which yeah, it's kind of a bit of an interesting one how that title race is ending. It's like Man City seem a bit inevitable, don't they? But they were lucky. They were lucky against Forest. Like Arsenal have been the best team in the league for sure by some extent. So
getting away with it a bit. Yeah, I think they could have very easily scored. Chris Wood probably should have scored a couple.
was the Man City fan. Have you seen that? It's
Is
like
that what it is? No, I've not seen that.
his old tweets from like 10 years ago have like come out.
Right. So he doesn't want them to lose the league.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, unsurprisingly,
desperate if you're you kind of like waiting everything on Chris Wood to be clinical.
Wonder if Forest told the FA that Chris Wood's a Man City fan, like they did for the linesman. You know, I'm sorry to any Forest fans. But game week 30. So unsurprisingly, we'll move on from that quickly before we get complaints. We're looking at the fixture ticker, dominated by game week 37 doublers. Unsurprisingly, you basically said you're going to split it into two, focus on 37 until 37's happened, and then move on to 38, and you can do sort of your 1 week punts. You mentioned Brighton, you mentioned City, like you mentioned Arsenal. Appreciate it for game week 38, but of those top six, is it six that are double? Like who are your big ones? Who are you, if you have, sell Edison, for example?
Well, the big players or the big teams?
The big teams, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like hence why myself and probably a lot of people wildcarding went triple up on these teams. It's Spurs, Man City, Chelsea, Newcastle, and then a smattering of Man United players, isn't it? Just because like the strength of the double game week fixtures, but the fixtures in and around. Spurs have Sheffield United in game week 38. City have Wolves and West Ham either side. Chelsea have West Ham and Bournemouth either side, right? So, yeah, it's those four teams. I think most people who wildcarded would have tripled up for like very logical reasons, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, those are the ones to target. As a person who's gone on the wildcard, the kind of team that's then interesting is getting an Arsenal player or two for game week 38. How can you get that player? And I think because it's the end of the season, you can look at who's the most exciting and optimal at this time player, right? So that's like a question of like you could get a Havertz, right? Who's probably
I know what
the
I was going to say. You're going to
yeah.
start the season with Havertz and then end the season with Havertz.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, listen to our. That's not advice, but listen to like kind of like some of the kind of shit we talk about. Sometimes we land on the right players, just the horrendous timing.
Yeah.
Havertz is probably. I don't have the facts that kind of back it up now, but he's probably for the last 5 game weeks. I'd be very surprised if he wasn't the most informed player in FPL.
Flying. Absolutely flying. I can tell you, he is pretty much at the top of the form fixture in his last 6 games, 7 attack and returns.
Yeah.
4 goals, 3 assists. And I think in 2 of those games, Arteta, for some reason, put him into the midfield. Despite the fact every time he starts him up top, he scores. So, not telling you how to do your job, Mikel. Unsurprisingly, the fixture ticker attack looks pretty much the same. A couple of
Yeah.
teams have moved around, but the same 6 at the top. So we'll move on. So I've kind of made a list, and it's not so much the best 3-week punt because I've kind of noted that, but it's not. It's the next 2 weeks because this is dominated by people that play twice in game week 37. So we spoke about the teams you're targeting. Are the players on this list the ones that you'd expect? I'm assuming so.
Yeah, I think you can quite definitively say yes on that. I'm surprised Foden isn't there, but
Yeah,
especially I mean fix these are the fixed numbers, and historically they've been quite big on Foden. I guess it hasn't probably factored in that he's just been ill. He's coming back like this kind of weekend. It's just probably got like it's a bit of like uncertainty around his minutes, but yeah, Foden will be there once he's back back started. Yeah, I think it's these players really, right? The kind of the stand out. So like you said, punt is probably not the word. Like they're just the obvious players to bet on. I mean, De Bruyne is an interesting one because he's probably like cost me this season probably collectively about 30 or 40 points when I went for him, just around like double game week 25 for a short period. I think it's a different player now because there's not going to be any rotate. It's going to be best players playing every single game, right? Because there's no Champions League. It's a title race, right? So I think he becomes. I think Foden is a better option, but like for people who are being bold and got some like moves on transfers, you could go triple City attack, right? Or if you got doubts around Foden's minutes, you could go De Bruyne. Obviously, it's a very expensive option. He stands out as a differential there. Everyone else is like, super obvious, I think.
Yeah, well, there's a couple to throw at you, though. You named a few already, because there's people that aren't on this list that I'm looking at and thinking, what are your thoughts?
Pascal Gross, where's he?
So Gross is coming up. I'm going to start with
Yeah.
a couple of single game week players. Havertz is top of my shop. Last 6 games, 4 goals, 3 assists. He has Bournemouth, Man United away, and Everton. It's well documented that Man United face more shots pretty much than most of the rest of the clubs combined in the Premier League. So I don't see that as a terrible fixture for Arsenal. Would you stay away from him purely because he's only playing 3 games and not 4?
It's just the volume of games, It's just the volume of games, really. But you're right on United defence. I think it's the rolling average is one of the worst, the bottom 3 defence at the moment, which is pretty shocking. For me, Havertz becomes very interesting for my team personally. He becomes interesting in game week 38 where he's got Everton at home. Up until then, he's a bit of a no-go for me just because of the volume of fixtures that other players have got.
Yeah, and I'm assuming then for the next 2, it's going to be the exact same answer. Luis Diaz seems to be Liverpool's best option. 2 goals, 2 assists in the last 6. Fixtures aren't great. Tottenham at home, Villa away, Wolves at home.
I won't be touching any Liverpool players. And like, if anyone's got any Liverpool players, that's a really nice.
Sell 'em.
Yeah, they're obviously expensive, and so it's a nice opportunity to move them to any of these players.
Yeah. And then the last one, after his ridiculous game week, and I still can't believe I let you have him, Joe, in Matt versus Dave. Mateta, 29 points in double game week, 34. 6 goals, 1 assist, 7 returns in his last 6. Man United at home, Wolves away, Villa at home. And Villa aren't great away. They're all right, but they're not as Villa
No,
that's where
their
they're
defense
at
is
the best.
their defense is mid away at best.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a volume of fixtures kind of like thing, really. So I think and
let's move on to the fun ones then. The fun ones, the players that do play twice that I'm going to throw at you. Let's do that.
We'll do this probably when we're doing like a pre-season review and like when we're wrapping up. But like, I mean, Palace, just the trajectory that they're on now with their team fit and a few new players embedded, that'll be a really exciting team for next year, right? With some really good kind of price points as well in the midfield, the defense, and with Mateta as well. So, yeah, I think won't be surprised if the fixtures look favourable. Mateta being like a bit of a template pick early next season.
Yeah, can see it.
Yeah,
absolutely. Especially if he's still like
not between now and the
million.
end of the season. Especially when you've got 2 strikers, it's going to be Isak and Haaland. You're not going away from them. If you've got 3 strikers, just Jackson with the sheer volume of games he's got does make more sense, I think.
Yeah. Okay, well, onto some
sorry for boring
doublers.
answers. Yeah.
No, but this is the whole point. This is the whole point. You teach us how to play.
You're a content producer, though, isn't it? So this is boring content for you. I apologise.
Well, I've got to throw some doublers at you, right? So, Foden is not on that list, and I agree. Like, how is Foden not on that list? Now, I didn't realise he's only played because of injury. He's only played one of City's last 4 Premier League games. I thought it was more. He's vastly overperforming, by the way. So he got 2 goals against Brighton. His expected goal involvement was 0.42. He got a hat-trick against Villa. Expected goal involvement, 0.94. He got 2 goals against Man United. To be fair, he wasn't far off, 1.77. And when he got a hat-trick against Brentford, goal involvement expected, 0.87. So he's vastly outperforming his numbers.
I'm aware of that. I missed all those hauls, man. And a lot of them, I was betting against him when he was highly owned as well. So I'm aware of his overperformance. I tell you what, with Foden, it'll become interesting if he is not in the squad in game week 36. Then it becomes you get quite nervous. Then it's like, what do you do?
Yeah.
Okay.
But if he's in the team, despite the fact he's clearly overperforming his stats, is he a must for you?
Yeah. The same
you've got him in your team, but if you didn't, would you bring him in? I suppose that's the question.
I'd bring him in for someone like Diaz, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Caveat
would you bring him in for Saka?
He's declared fit, yeah. Would I bring him for Saka?
In game week 37.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm just planning my moves. So that could be the move I'm making. Pascal Gross. Obviously heartbroken. Gross since I sold him. He hasn't done an attack of return since game week 28. Clearly as a podcast listener, saw Dave sold him and was he's lost his way. He hasn't really got anything above 0.34 expected goal involvement since game week 25.
I think I prefer Brighton's fixtures in the double compared to even Gordon's, right? But I think it's a cliche, right? But Brighton just look dead. They've just been quite poor for a while. Last weekend, they were very bad. So, Gross I like, but I think there's 5 better midfielder options than him, and 2 of them in his price point. 3 in his price point: Garnacho, Palmer, Gordon. I'd prefer any of those 3 over Gross at the moment. And I like him as an option. It's just Brighton I don't like at the moment.
Yeah. It's just that he's not doing what he was doing, Gross. And the fixtures are Villa, Newcastle, Chelsea, and Man United. So they're not easy. You mentioned Garnacho. He's also on my list to chat to you about. 5 million in his last 6 games, 2 goals, 2 assists. He's got Palace away, Arsenal at home, Newcastle at home, and Brighton away to finish off the season. You there? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Now I can. You're saying Garnacho, yes or no? Yeah, I think.
Garnacho.
Yeah, I like him. Yeah, more so than Gross. I guess it's again who's the depends on your wider team, doesn't it? Right, and I think if you were like comparing like for like Bruno Fernandes or Garnacho, I know the price points are radically different. You'd go Bruno Fernandes, right? Set pieces, 95 minutes, great expected goal involvement every game. You'd go Palmer over him, you'd go Son over him, right? You'd go a fit Foden or De Bruyne, and then it's like Gordon. Okay, you could maybe make a case versus Gordon for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he's probably a tier below. But I think these kind of expected points I think are a good reflection of probably where it lands.
Yeah. And then the last one, we're taking you into your defence. Could be an option for you, especially if you do end up selling Ederson. We've spoke about him already. Gvardiol, 2 goals and an assist in his last 6. He's got Wolves at home, Fulham and Tottenham away in the double, and then West Ham at home. And obviously, City need to win all 4 to win the title.
I think he's probably the best defender option at the moment. And like, if I think Ederson's going to be fit for the weekends, like, or at least be on the bench or something like that, and we'll come back for the 37th. But if Ederson picks up a random additional injury, I would probably do a flip in 37 to bring in Gvardiol to then or someone, and then get another double game week keeper. Yeah, Gvardiol, I think, is probably the best defender option, and obviously that's recency bias, right? Because he scored 15 points on the weekend, but it's more like he is getting very regular minutes and has got quite a unique role in that team and is doing well in terms of expected goal involvement, relatively speaking, and is getting some returns, right? So, I think he's
points out as well. It's 2 goals and an assist in the Premier League last 6 games. He's got against Madrid in the Champions League as well.
Yeah.
So he's clearly doing something to take more shots than he ever has. So you go. Look at this list if you're listening. Take Matt's advice. Look at the list. Don't go for Gross. Garnacho's an option. Getting Gvardiol if you haven't got 3 City. That's what I'm taking from that.
Yeah. None of them punts either.
Take the punt. Take Mateta. Get Mateta. Everybody should get Mateta. You heard Matt say it. Moving on to the captaincy option, as we always do. And I think there's don't get Mateta. Matt didn't say that. There is, I think, a chat here, and Haaland seems the obvious, right? You're looking at the expected. Haaland's top. Isaac is second. Tell you who's not on the list, who should be, and I don't know what's happened. Like, I might have messed up with getting these stats, by the way, because how on earth is Saka not on this list? I think what I've done is accidentally click the forward position. So, as you can see, all of these players are forwards.
Palmer would be up there. Only Palmer against West Ham, who were the worst defense. So I think really, if you're talking about it, it's a well, it's a two-way conversation between Saka and Haaland, who I'd say Haaland is probably a little bit further on, but like there is enough debate to have a bit of a conversation. Then it's like the group of midfielders, right? It's the other Arsenal midfielders. It's Foden, it's De Bruyne, it's Palmer, right? So I think you've clicked just the forwards, but it's interesting. It's an interesting reference point.
Luckily for me, the stats I've got is Haaland against Saka. So you mentioned they're the 2. I did put Isaac in as well because he's got Burnley. But here's something for you. So expected points per game for Isaac at home, 7.91, top in the division. Expected points away from home, 3.46. It is a massive drop-off. Yeah. And I don't know if that's because of the way Eddie Howe plays away from home or what.
It's weird, isn't it? It's no other team is as extreme. And like me as a Gordon owner, I'm thinking I'll probably bench him this week just because of the reasons you mentioned there. It's kind of mad that the difference is for that team between home and away.
Drop-off. Whereas Haaland and Saka, so points per home game, because they're both going to be playing at home. Saka actually edges it Saka's expected points per home game is 6.46. Haaland is 6.23. So he's slightly ahead Saka. Expected goals for the teams that they're playing in terms of conceding. Wolves away, who's Haaland's playing, 1.77 per game. Bournemouth away, who are Saka's playing, 1.85. So Saka's expected to get more points over the course of the season per home game, and the defence he's playing is expected to concede more.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that gives Saka the edge?
Nah.
Me neither. But just if you're looking to chase your mini league, do you think it's a sensible? It is a sensible route. You wouldn't argue against it. Or is Haaland for you, despite the stats? Haaland the clear and obvious, and like don't do it.
Yeah, I think it's I think there's another gap to say it's not a debate. I would say it's a back your point. I would say probably Saka's the second best captaincy option,
Yeah.
followed by probably
Rest of
Palmer.
the rest. Rest of the rest. Only Isaac if he's at home. That's what we're taking from there. Only back Isaac as
Yeah, it's
captain
weird,
if
isn't
he's
it? It is,
playing
it is, it is kind of
Yeah.
really extreme, and it's the same goes for Gordon as well. Really strange the split they've got at Newcastle, isn't it?
Absolute drop off. I was like, oh, he's number one at home.
Wood is high up, isn't he?
Nowhere
Wood is
near the
got
top.
the expected points. Like if we're talking about differentials coming up for who we got to pick for our
Yeah. He's got he's playing Fulham. No, he's not playing Fulham. What am I on about? He's playing Sheffield United away in the upcoming game week. So I'll talk about that. So there you go. Haaland's number one, Saka number two, Palmer number three. We'll talk about that. Let's move on to Matt versus Dave, and this is a difficult game week, Matt, to pick differentials. But we'll touch on how game week 35 is going. So you won game week 34. I don't think we've adjudicated that. Mateta decided to get a brace in the second game week, ended up on 29 points. Jota decided he was injured and out for 2 weeks, so I didn't get his second game. And I'll regret letting you change from Cunha to Mateta for the rest of my life. So that's what took the scores into 13 each. And now we're on to game week 35. Now, I am just ahead. I know you give me a bit of a berating for picking Bruno Guimaraes, even though he played a single game. But he managed to get a goal in the 5-1 win against got 8 points, so he got a bonus as well. And then, unfortunately for you, like I feel like the look, I needed the look after the Mateta move. Your starter Werner got injured, and my Johnson came on for him. So that was a bit of a shame for you. But I've not seen any news on Werner coming back.
No, he's out for the season.
Is he? Is he
Him and
out?
Ben Davies, yeah, they both got injured. So in that match, so yeah, he's out for the season. So he's not coming back. So that probably means that Johnson's definitely going to start as well. So like we're worse in your favours. But I think Werner came off on like what did he come on like 35 minutes or something like that. Johnson came on, so they didn't even get their additional appearance points. So I think it's looking, unless Petrovic gets a clean sheet and like does a penalty save, it's looking like you've won this one.
Yeah, Bruno sorted me out. But you never know. Stranger things have happened. Do you remember when was it Tim Krul saved 2 pens in the same game? Stranger things have happened.
Yeah.
So I won't count my chickens. But we are moving on to game week 36. First time in a while we've got a single game week or something.
Yeah.
It feels like it's been a while. To pick a single game week player, and you have the privilege of going first. But honestly, this has been the toughest pick of the season to find two.
Really, I think it's quite simple.
Oh well, I'm hoping I've clearly got a blind spot somewhere. I'll let you go. Oh, it's you. It's on you to go first.
Well, I think I've got to go for. I reckon I've got probably 4 players that stand out a lot. So I'm gonna from 2 teams. I'm gonna go for first one. Gibbs White.
Gibbs White is on the list.
He's been picked loads of times, isn't he? But yeah, Gibbs White. That's quite him or the man on the previous slide. Like I think it's got one of them seems to be a bit obvious, no?
Yeah, so Gibbs White was on the list. He did 5 returns in his last 7 games. Not bad at all. Didn't do anything for me when I owned him, but I'll forgive him for that. But he's only 1.7% owned. So a low ownership. So Gibbs White for you. So he's off my list now. My first one, I'm going to go for. I'm just going to double check because he was 4.9% owned. I'm
Oh,
going to
yeah,
make
that was my
sure
second pick.
before I pick him, he's still there. And he is 4.9% owned. Ivan Toney.
Yeah, he was my second. Was he your first pick or your second?
He was going to be my first. He
Yeah,
was going to be number one for me. He's at home to Fulham.
yeah.
Fulham's defence can be hit and miss. He's back. He played 90 minutes last game. He's on penalties, and I think he's only ever missed one career pen. And he's just one of those players. Like I know he's been a bit off it, but he could smash in 2 goals against Fulham, no problem.
I should have gone for
So
Tony
yeah,
for first. My other option for Brentford, which I thought was a decent fixture, was Mbumo, right? But obviously he's still 6.7% owned, so I missed that.
yeah.
So yeah, I might have to go double Forest.
Take Wood. You take him Wood.
I mean, I might have to go for him. He might be dropped after that performance.
Yeah, but he doesn't support Sheffield United, so he'll happily score.
Yeah, I've got to go Wood, I think.
Chris Wood. Double. So I need Sheffield United to step up. That's what I need. I need them to go. We're relegated. We may as well just play no holds barred football and 2-0, 2-0 Sheffield
Yeah.
United. I'm not happy with my other two, mate. I'm genuinely not. I think I'm gonna go to an old faithful, and every time I've picked him, he's done absolutely nothing for me. 2.6% owned, at home to Wolves. Seems to start every game for Man City. Bernardo Silva.
Okay.
But he does. He's not. He's not. He just. He's not doing load. The only other pick I could find was Foster, like Burnley striker, which he's been looking out to score in his last couple of games. Looking at his stats, but Newcastle are a decent side, so I'm just gonna go. I'm just gonna go for Silva, and hopefully he actually does something for me because I can't be trusting. Who am I picking? A guy that plays for the best team on the potentially the best team on the
Yeah.
planet, and they're about to win the league, or the striker for the guy who's like for a team that's about to get relegated. So
I
in that reason, I'm going for Silver.
fair enough.
I'm,
Fair enough.
I'm not happy about it.
Um,
I felt this was hard this week.
yeah, I felt well, Mbumo I assume was under 5%, but I felt like Tony and Mbumo, Wood and Gibbs White were quite obvious picks. But like you said, after that, you kind of going random, right? You're going for like the third or fourth choice attacker from Everton, or the same goes for like a Villa player. So yeah, it's
Tough one. So we're going
yeah,
Gibbs, White, and Wood for you, and
yeah,
Tony and Silver for me. And we'll have or should have 2 scores on the doors by the next time we come
right,
on. Uh, Mix it up, Matt. We'll start with you. Plans for
yeah.
game week 36.
So I think I'll have to roll unless like Edison is confirmed out long term. I've got to roll that really. And like Petrovic against West Ham, I'm quite happy for him to play and come on. Like Edison's not going to get subbed on, is he? So he either starts or he doesn't. So yeah, I've got to roll it really, and having 2-3 transfers going into the double will be pretty good because then I can just like assess, are there any injuries, are there any rotation risks, and just kind of reassess for an optimal team. So yeah, my team would be Edison. If he's injured, Petrovic comes in, but I think Edison will probably start. Dallo, who I'm not expecting to keep a clean sheet, of course. Gabriel, Byrne, Son, Fernandez, Palmer, Foden, Jackson, Isak, and Haaland captain. I guess for me, my that's probably like a 3-way conversation on who to bench, right? So yeah, I benched Gordon at the moment, but I think equally it could be it's probably a 4-way conversation, right? It could be Jackson, it could be Bruno Fernandez, or it could be Son. I think I'd be loath to bench Son or Fernandez just because they're like premium assets who've been there and done that every single year. They're the clutch players for their teams. They're both on penalties and a lot of set pieces, right? So
Yeah.
I think, on paper, I think Palace away and Liverpool away are of course, are tougher games than Burnley, but I think those guys offer a lot more. So I think their expected points are probably similar to Gordon, but I think they got a lot more going for them. And then Jackson's just a bit of a weird player, just because he's so wasteful. He's not on any set pieces. But West Ham at home is a really prime fixture for attackers. West Ham defense is terrible, right? So, at the moment I'm playing Jackson, but talking out loud, it's probably going to be a late decision between Gordon benched or Jackson benched.
Yeah,
that's it, and then roll into there, and no real debate for me to try and start Pedro Porro or Van der Ven, even though Porro's got that attacking threat. Liverpool will score a few against Spurs, I'm sure, and then I think Dallo, Burn, they just got better clean sheet odds. Really, I'll play those odds really. So quite straightforward. So it'd be rolling for me.
Rolling it, and then obviously in that team, if my maths is right, only Gabriel doesn't have a double game week. Is the plan removed for 37, or happy to keep him? Because I appreciate you want Arsenal assets for 30 years.
Structurally, that's why it was a bit frustrating that I missed out on Gvardiol, not just because he got a haul. Structurally, it was hard to fit in good defenders. People got double Newcastle defense or double United defense or double Spurs defense, right? None of which are very good, right? So Arsenal, I think it's just worth keeping those players just because their defense is a lot better, right, than the other teams, really. So I don't think I'd be getting rid of Gabriel. And also we've spoken about game week 38. Gabriel's got Everton there, right? So it'll be nice to.
Absolutely.
I couldn't afford it, but I think if I could afford it, it would probably be in a real decision point of whether I went for that second Spurs defender or had a second Arsenal defender. I would have been quite open for that option as well, to have like a White or a Saliba over Van der Ven, despite the lack of fixtures, just because there's really no defenders screaming out. I think it's weird. The Gusto injury is the one that kind of screwed it, because Gusto's got Chelsea got some bet. That Chelsea are an average defense. They're not good. But they're better than Spurs and Newcastle, right? And Gusto does have some attacking threat as well. So having Vicario as a keeper over Petrovic and Gusto as the defender would have just made the structure a lot better. But obviously he's injured now, James back, so that just kind of like eliminated that option really. So I'll be keeping Gabriel.
It felt good to get rid of Gusto, if I'm honest, because it's opened up my third Chelsea slot. So I've got Petrovic like you and Palmer like you, and I'll see if I bring in another. But my team, so again, similar to you, I feel like my move's fairly obvious. I've got one free transfer, 1.3 in the bank. I've got a player on the bench in Al Dakil that is never going to play ever. He's injured, and I've actually got money. I can do something with him. So he's 3.8 million to sell. I can get up to a 5.1 million pound defender. Obviously, I want to target game week 37, but somebody that has a nice game week 36 works for me as well, because I'm at the minute Pedro Porro's on my pitch. I don't want to play him. Don't want to play Aït-Nouri, even if Aït-Nouri's fit, because they're Liverpool away and City away. So I don't want to play either of them. So if I can move Al Dakil to one of the City defenders, and I can afford the 5 million, so Ake, Akanji, Gvardiol, probably going to be Gvardiol. It just then allows me to play him instead of Porro. Porro comes to the bench, and I get a City defender against Wolves at home. Feels a lot better.
Yeah, that's the best move you can make.
Yeah,
and I think it just needs to be Gvardiol based on all the reasons we've mentioned, right? And you got to just live with it. If he gets benched a random game, you just got to live with it. I mean, Ake, I think, has been out for a little bit, but he's back in training now. But I think they played different roles, and like again, the fixtures aren't coming thick and fast now. It's like it's one game a week. They don't have any Champions League, so it's going to be playing the best players, you would imagine.
Yeah, they've got the FA Cup final, but that's about it.
Yeah, well, I guess the risk is 38 if they've already won the league by then, but I think there'll be enough up in the air that the next 4 games they're gonna have to play the best team, and Gvardiol is in their best team for sure.
That's and the rest of the team, to be honest, I'm fairly happy with. So to run through, double Arsenal defence, Rayo and Gabriel. Brantway away at Luton. Luton had Luton can score there, but I'm not overly bothered to move Brantwaite on, and then Porro
Yeah,
will become Guardiol. Midfield: Fernandez, Saka, Son, Palmer. Happy to play Eze. Think he should be back. So happy to play Eze. If Eze isn't back for some reason at home to Man United, we spoke about United's defence letting in a lot of shots. Eze is going to be at the forefront of that for Palace. If he's not back, I get Solanke. And
yeah,
okay, he's away at Arsenal. Don't expect him to score, but if anybody's going to score for Bournemouth, it's probably Solanke.
yeah.
So I don't mind him being my first bench. And then I'll have Isaac. And at the minute, Haaland captain with Saka with the vice.
Yeah, it
I'll
looks
probably
good.
stick like that, to be honest.
Yeah, your team's looking good with the double Arsenal defence and Saka. It's looking strong, and I think Eze will be a bit of a hidden gem, bit of a differential if he is fit, like against that United defence. And yeah, Palace are looking like really, really great the last like 5 game weeks and whatnot. And that's Eze and Elise being back with Mateta. Forget the name of the lad they got from Blackburn, but he's looking really good in midfield. So yeah, like it's looking good. And then presumably going into double game week 37, you'll have Guardiola presumably in your team, which is cool.
Correct.
And then what you'd look to move Eze to a Gordon or a
That'll be it. I'll have 9. I'll have 9 double. Well, 8. I'll have 8 going into 37 with a free transfer. So it'll probably be Eze to Gordon. Could move Raya onto a double game week keeper if I wanted to. I could do Brantwaite to a double game week defender. Brantwaite's got a decent fixture, to be honest. He's at home to Sheffield United, so I don't mind him being one of them
and
single game week players.
you want to be bringing in good players, and I think for keepers and defenders, there's not many good alternatives, right? I think midfielders, there are some ones, but I think you got Gordon and Garnacho and Eze's price point, and then Saka, I wouldn't recommend moving him on because you'll potentially want him back for game week 38, but you could go a Foden, right?
Yeah. So I could go Eze to a Gordon. I could do Solanke, could move on quite easily.
Yeah,
He's at
that's
home to Brighton again. Not a terrible fixture.
Yeah, you could go Højlund, you could go Jackson, Højlund, you could go I wouldn't João Pedro is a bit of a stretch. Like
Yeah. But I think Højlund, Jackson. So there's options. I don't mind taking a -4 to get myself to 10 double game week players. I'm making 2 of those points back in effect because they'll have an extra fixture. But it's not bad. It's not bad. Once I'll have to see as well how that Aït-Nouri injury goes. If that's going to be long term, then obviously I'll be forced to make the move. I'll make the move there, but time will tell. Time will tell. Options, Matt. Options is what I have, and I haven't had them for a while. I've got budget. So Al-Dakhil can finally disappear out of my team.
Still get price, but don't miss the price rises this time. That's why you left with him in it.
I know. I'm keeping my eye on it. And as soon as I see, is Guardiola going up? Is he done? Transfer made.
I think it's kind of funny, isn't it? I think like we have 38 transfers plus the wild cards. Like 38 transfers or 37 transfers. Sorry, to make over the season. Nearly like 10%. About 7% of your transfers are moving in and out Al-Dakhil. Like. Just getting one of these stinkers, like in terms of like just bad players, just like really does screw you up, doesn't it? Just because like bringing them in, moving them out.
I needed the money. Yeah, like what did I need the money for? I was 0.1 shy, so I had to get him in.
Yeah, you wanted to do you want to get Brantwaite. You went for the cheapest defense ever, right? So you had Lascelles, who was like 3.8, and then you wanted to bring in. I think you wanted to get Brantwaite, who was a little bit more expensive than someone else who was really cheap as well. So essentially, you took a Brantwaite's got you some points though. To be fair,
yes, he's got me some points. He's that double game week where we got 16, and then he just got a clean sheet, so he's fully paid.
You hit the jackpot with him as well. You're like being stringy with your budget there at work because you could have gone Michaelenko, who's like injured now. You could have gone Tarkowski, who just didn't do anything. So you've come out actually okay.
All right.
Given it was Brantwaite, right. I think you've done like 3 or 4 moves in and around Al-Dakhil, which is like a good proportion of the whole season, really. The transfers you've got.
Time for him to go. Time for him to disappear. But yeah, that brings us to the end. I was going to say something at the beginning, and I thought it might be better to say at the end. But Matt, I don't know whether you saw the viewing figures for our last episode, but it was quite phenomenal. Over 1,700 views, which is by far the best we've ever had. So I don't know what happened there, but honestly, just a big thank you. If you're new to us and if it's the first time you watched or you've been with us from the off, honestly, thank you so much. We were pretty gobsmacked, Matt, when we saw the numbers, weren't we?
No, like very, very surprised. So yeah, thanks everyone for the views there. I guess this wild card is a sexier topic than game week 36. So
That's true. That
um,
is true. I'm not
that
expecting the same again.
does bring everyone out, but no, yeah, we were obviously chuffed with that, right? So we're chuffed with anyone
Yeah,
watching it. To be honest, like
that's it. Exactly that.
we just
Yeah, yeah.
little chat. I mean, no effort goes on from my side. A little bit from you.
You're the talent. I keep telling you, you are the talent. I couldn't put former world number one in my titles if you weren't here. So you are the talent.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
But hey,
Um,
no, honestly, thank you for everybody that did listen and listen this one. If you're still with us, if you aren't subscribed, please do. It does help us out. It means other people can find us as well. So please do that. But Matt, we will. Nice to have you. Obviously, as always, we'll catch up, and it'll be a sexier topic next week because we're going back into double game week 37. Biggest Is it the biggest of the season? It's the last one of the season, so there'll be lots to chat about the double game weeks. Are you excited for it?
um, yeah, like you're always hoping for some kind of on bench boost. I'll be on bench boost. You will as well. You're always hoping for some random person to get a little haul just to make it special. A random defender's goal or something like that. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
so yeah, I think
Keepers. We always speak, don't we? Keepers
no,
always get. There's
exactly.
always one keeper in a double game week. Like it's about 20 points.
100%, 100%. Yeah, it's kind of like you just got to get lucky with it. But I think for both you and I, it's probably like last chance saloon really to get a big score and like jump up those ranks. So yeah, fingers
Yeah.
crossed.
I fancy us both to break top 100k. I do. I'm feeling confident. I know that the aim's top 10k. We'll do our best, but top 100k definitely. It's the new top 10k, Matt. It's the new top 10k. The top 100k is the new top
No,
10k.
top 250. Top 250 is what it's all about. Yeah.
All right, so yeah, I'll do. We'll go with that. But no, we'll catch up next week, Matt. We'll see how we're doing. And again, for the listener, catch you next week too. May your arrows be green and all the best until next week.